You know, I've talked a lot recently about this push in Hollywood to really have women driven movies. That's movies that are written by women, directed by women. Usually, some of the technical crew, editors, cinematographers are women. And of course, the main and lead characters are always women. And again, this is something that Hollywood feels it must do to compensate for all of the casting couch maneuvers that their executives pulled in decades past. Generally, as a rule, when you give someone something they haven't really deserved yet and do it just for a cause, it doesn't turn out to be too good. There have been a lot of women driven movies that are basically disposable and just meant to placate the fairer sex by the Hollywood execs and not really intended to be anything worthwhile. This trend is also seeping down into the independent films. And if this movie tonight is any indication, I think maybe perhaps the independent movies have got this thing more correct than the big studios do. Cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Fiore, your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. What I said in the intro, I'm finding to be a little bit true, and that is that the independent films and the independent studios are probably treating this woman-driven film concept with a lot more respect and a lot more integrity than the big major Hollywood studios are. Case in point is tonight's movie, which our lesson plan is. It's Katie Says Goodbye. Now, let me tell you right off the bat that most men are not going to find this movie very, very interesting. This is, like most Hollywood films, a celebration of everything they hold sacred, but basically which is extremely dysfunctional. Let me tell you a little bit about it. You have the main character is Katie, and she's played by Olivia Cooke. Folks, I got to tell you, this is a really strong performance by Olivia. I'm thinking that even though it's only halfway through the year, she may get some nods for this because it really is a powerful performance by her playing Katie. Katie, wow, what can I say about this girl? I think it is the character that made me watch this movie to the very end because basically it's a chick flick. But her character was so interesting, and her message of hope was actually quite inspiring. Katie is not your typical protagonist, okay? She's a girl from a broken family. She lives in a trailer park with her mother. Her mother basically is kind of a whore, and a drunken whore to begin with. This doesn't stop Katie from loving her. It's her mother by all stretch, But the bottom line is, you don't want to celebrate this type of family unit. I mean, this is really broken, and her mom is just an absolute wreck. And I should tell you right now that her mom is played by Meryl Enos, and she does a really fine job too. Not someone you would like, but someone rather that you would despise. All through this, Katie is able to keep a strong sense of humor. Now, because her mom is basically just, whoring around town and drinking herself into oblivion, she's not providing any income, which means that Katie's very meager earnings and tips at the local truck stop diner have to pull the family through. And as a result, that's not enough money. So Katie begins to prostitute herself to a rather elite clientele, like regulars who come into the truck stop, and they give her extra money, and with that money, so she's not a very likable character. I mean, this is not good, and I guess basically the question is asked: Can basically someone who is a slut, who is a whore, find true love? Well, probably not, if this movie is any indication. But Katie is certainly hoping for it, and She falls in love with the new guy in town, and she wants to share her dreams with him and marry. Well, naturally, it doesn't take too long until he finds out what Katie is all about, and boy, problems ensue. There is a segment in this movie, folks, where man, one day in Katie's life is Murphy's Law on steroids. I mean, not only can anything that can go wrong does go wrong, but anything that can goes wrong as large as it can. I mean, this poor girl, what she goes through in her final day in this movie is like, oh my God, I think at one point I'd have been choking people. It's just, yeah, she has this inspiration though that after all this stuff has plagued her, she ends the movie in a very positive way with a very upbeat message and a smile on her face. And I think that part of the film is probably the thing that endeared me to it as much as it did. Women behind this. Well, you have Paula Hadborough is the director of photography. The editor is Sabine Emiliani, and it was written and directed by Wayne Roberts. But there are a lot of women involved in this when you look at the end credits, and naturally the women are main stars. Mary Steenburgen makes a cameo role in this, and so does Jim Belushi. So there's some people in here that are worthwhile, and the acting is really well done. Even though everything here is so deplorable, this character Katie and the way Olivia Cooke presents her is really kind of inspiring and kind of uplifting, and it makes it worthwhile. Are most guys gonna like this movie? No, I'm sorry to say they probably won't. Okay, I think it's something that definitely women could maybe identify with and appreciate a little bit more than men. But men, if your lady wants to sit you through a chick flick because she's watched, Godzilla and the Avengers and everything else down the pike, you could do a lot worse than this one. This one, you could probably make it through to the end and get a little something out of it. One thing I liked about this that attracted me in the very beginning of the movie is Wayne Roberts, when he wrote the dialogue for this, wrote it in the style of Jack Webb. Okay? You remember Jack Webb? Dragnet? Yeah. Oh, facts, man. Just facts. Real short, crisp dialogue that's no flower and bang, right there. And I liked it. I thought it was, now, it was written that way to show that these people are basically very, very simple folk. But it had the opposite effect in saying the message a whole lot better and a whole lot less words. And the man who says more and less is the better man. The name of the movie is Katie Says Goodbye. A chick flick, but one that I was able to sit through because of a powerful performance by Olivia Cooke and a really, although it's skewed, a powerful message at the end. Now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.